The tales of Oda Nobunaga, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, and Tokugawa Ieyasu have long captured the imagination of the Japanese people. These historical figures, renowned for their ambition, cunning, and military prowess, frequently feature in television programs and films that depict the tumultuous events of their era, with that being the Sengoku period. However, the Edo period was characterized by the dominance of the Tokugawa family, and it stands as a pivotal chapter in Japanese history, shaping the nation's culture and society for centuries to come. During the Edo period, the shogunate was typically passed down within the Tokugawa family's direct lineage, often to the eldest sons. Concurrently, the imperial line of emperors continued to exist, albeit without political authority. Despite lacking governmental power, the emperor's lineage retained its imperial status throughout this era. In contrast to the turbulent Sengoku period, the Edo period was characterized by relative peace and stability. As the Edo period drew to a close, Japan found itself amidst a changing global landscape. The once stable Tokugawa regime began to exhibit signs of stagnation, with structural and financial issues emerging. This became known as the Bakumatsu period. During the Bakumatsu era, numerous European vessels arrived in Japan, pressuring the country to open up its ports. Countries such as England, Russia, America, and France expressed interest in trading with Japan. In the year 1792, the Russian government dispatched an official envoy to Japan, demanding trade access. Then, in 1853, Commodore Perry of the United States arrived at the Uraga port with 4 imposing warships. He insisted Japan open its ports to provide essential resources like water, fuel, and supplies for American whalers. During this time, the Tokugawa government would grapple with political and financial challenges. Intellectuals feared Japan might face the same fate to China during the Opium War with England, and so pressure mounted to open Japan to the world. It became increasingly clear that Japan could not maintain its isolation. Perry's arrival, marked by his formidable warships, heightened Japanese anxiety, which in turn fueled an anti-Tokugawa sentiment across the country, ultimately causing civil unrest. Saito Hajime was born during the Tokugawa Shogunate's decline, and would serve as the captain of the 3rd unit of the Shinsengumi. The Shinsengumi were an elite group of swordsmen, founded to protect the shogun and its representatives. Many Japanese people would wish death to the shogunate in order to expel all Western influences from Japan, and they would long to see the emperors of Japan back in power. Noblemen, peasants, and young samurai were dissatisfied with the shogunate's handling of foreigners entering Japan. This would result in a period of political chaos, and civil war would brew. Saito Hajime's early life remains somewhat of a mystery. However, some details of his life were recorded. He was born in the year 1844 in Edo, and his father was a feudal soldier who was a direct vassal under the Tokugawa shogunate. In his youth, Saito would stand out for his height, towering at 5'11". He had a reserved nature, which lent him an air of mystery, and he was renowned for his dignified demeanour, preferring solitude over idle chatter. He maintained a reserved presence, yet he was known for his swift reactions in any circumstance. When Hajime was 18 years old, he accidentally killed a Hatamoto, a direct retainer under the shogun, so he escaped to Kyoto. He would change his name to keep his identity hidden, and would practice several styles of swordsmanship, and would even become a master, teaching in a dojo. In the year 1863, the Tokugawa Shogunate organised a massive group of ronin for the purpose of protecting the shogun Iemochi during his time in Kyoto. This group later became known as the Shinsengumi, with its command falling to Kondo Isami, a renowned swordsman. Although Hajime was technically an outlaw for the murder of a Hatamoto, he joined the order and was said to be one of the group's most gifted swordsmen. They were drawn from sword schools from Edo, and Hajime would join its ranks. He was said to always sit in a formal position and would always remain alert. He was also known to be extremely intimidating. This was necessary as the country was on the verge of civil war. I would like to thank War Thunder for sponsoring today's video. War Thunder is the most supreme vehicle combat game ever made, and is available now for free on PC and consoles such as PlayStation or Xbox. In the vast expanse of virtual battlefields, one game reigns supreme, and that's War Thunder. Step into the cockpit or the command seat and feel the pulse of over 2,500 war machines such as tanks, planes and helicopters, ships, and even armoured cars of the 1920s. War Thunder's not just a game, it's a global phenomenon with a community of over 70 million players. So check the sign up link in the description box below for a massive bonus pack available for new and returning players that haven't played for at least 6 months across all platforms that sign up using my link. The bonus pack includes multiple premium vehicles and an exclusive vehicle decorator known as the Eagle of Valor, 100,000 silver lions, and 7 days of a premium account. This is available to play on PC, Xbox or PlayStation, so sign up now. He was also responsible for weeding out any potential spies within the Order's ranks, as they were meant to protect the Tokugawa Shogunate, and there was an anti-Tokugawa sentiment across the country. Hajime's position in the Order was also that of a Kenjutsu instructor. In addition, he was one of the Shinsengumi's youngest members. At its peak, the Order had 300 members, and they were the first samurai group of the Tokugawa era to allow those from non-samurai classes, such as farmers and merchants for example, to join. Many would join out of the desire to become a samurai and to become involved in political affairs. The group also followed the samurai code, or bushido, and the penalty for breaking any rule was seppuku, the ritualistic form of samurai suicide. Factions were forming, and the Shinsengumi, who at this point were a secret police type of enforcer organisation, kidnapped a member of the Ikedaya rebel forces. He would confess to plans of inciting chaos by burning Kyoto and abducting the emperor, while also targeting any daimyo and their supporters who came to the capital's aid. The Shinsengumi employed harsh interrogation methods on the rebel, subjecting him to excruciating torture. Information extracted from this ordeal allegedly revealed a plot to set Kyoto ablaze. On July the 8th in the year 1864, the Shinsengumi launched an assault on the Ikedaya. They would ambush them at an inn, which resulted in the death of 8 rebels and the arrest of 23 others. Notably, the Shinsengumi were clad in chainmail and light armour, and the rebels were lightly dressed and intoxicated. This would contribute to their defeat. Saito Hajime was one of the members that arrived at the inn. The same year in August, Hajime took part in the Kinmon incident, where the rebels tried to storm the imperial palace in Kyoto. The Shinsengumi would slay hundreds of men while receiving very few casualties. However, as the rebels retreated, they began burning large portions of the city to cover their escape, resulting in 28,000 houses burning down. Hajime would after receive an award from the shogunate for his actions during the conflict, and was soon promoted to the 3rd Unit's captain. In the year 1866, the new shogun, Tokugawa Yoshinobu, took office, and he desired to transform Japan into a Western-style state. Emperor Komei fell seriously ill, and at the age of 36 died in the year 1867, leaving his 15-year-old son Meji as his heir. Immediately upon Yoshinobu's ascension as shogun, major changes were initiated. A massive government overhaul was undertaken to initiate reforms that would strengthen the Tokugawa government. In particular, assistance from the Second French Empire was organized in order to modernize the army of the shogunate. The outlook among many was that the Tokugawa shogunate was gaining ground towards renewed strength and power. War would soon break out between the shogunate's forces and the imperial army, who were a coalition of ronin, nobles, samurai, and rebels. Tokugawa Yoshinobu would order an attack on Kyoto in the year 1868. Saito Hajime would take part in the Battle of Toba Fushimi as part of the Shinsengumi forces. A violent encounter would take part on the Bungo Bridge between the imperial loyalists and the shogunate's forces. The battle would drag on for 4 days, with several skirmishes and encounters taking place. However, the fighting would end with a decisive imperial victory, causing the shogunate's forces to retreat. Meanwhile, Kondo Isami, the leader of the Shinsengumi, withdrew to Edo after the Battle of Toda Fushimi. Kondo Isami created a new unit based on the surviving members of the old order, of which Saito Hajime would join. The shogun, Tokugawa Yoshinobu, had slipped away from Osaka Castle that night. When his forces learned their shogun had abandoned them, they too departed Osaka Castle, which was later captured by the imperial forces. The prestige and morale of the Tokugawa clan was seriously weakened, and many daimyos who had remained neutral now declared in favour of the emperor and offered him military support to prove their new loyalties. This victory for the imperialists set a course for a military settlement rather than a political compromise. The Shinsengumi and other shogunate forces were being chased by the imperial army, who had reached another Tokugawa stronghold. This would culminate in the Battle of Katsunuma. Outnumbered 10-1, the shogun's forces were defeated with 179 casualties. The survivors, including Hajime, attempted to flee to Eizu, which was still controlled by Tokugawa Hatamoto loyalists. Due to a senior commander of the Shinsengumi being incapacitated as a result of the injuries sustained in a recent battle, and the leader of the group having been executed and beheaded, Saito Hajime would assume command of any Shinsengumi left alive in the Eizu province, and would lead them into battle on behalf of the Tokugawa clan. The shogunate's forces would go on to lose a series of battles to the imperial forces, and Saito Hajime would fight until the bitter end of the Boshin War, at the Battle of Eizu. The result was an imperial victory, and Saito Hajime would be taken as a prisoner of war. Following victory, the new government proceeded with unifying the country under a single legitimate and powerful rule by the imperial court. The emperor's residence was effectively transferred from Kyoto to Edo at the end of the year 1868, and the city was renamed Tokyo. Tokugawa Yoshinobu would abdicate as shogun and relinquish all of his power to the emperor. Thus, the political event known as the Meiji Restoration brought back imperial rule to Japan, which had not been seen since the Heian period, some 1,000 years before. Hajime would then change his name to Fujita Goro, but for the purpose of this video, we will refer to him as Saito Hajime. He was soon released from his captivity and was pardoned by the Meiji government for his role in the Boshin War. He then began to work as a police officer in the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department. Having worked for the Shinsengumi before, a secret police enforcer type of department, he had much experience and was a known man of action and a fighter. In the year 1877, the Satsuma Rebellion would take place. A sense of discontentment was brewing as Japan underwent rapid modernization. The transformation entailed the dismantling of the noble status enjoyed by the samurai class, leading to a decline in their financial stability. To many samurai, the swift and extensive changes in Japanese culture, language, attire, and societal norms seemed to contradict what they fought for in the Boshin War, using their expel the barbarian motto as a justification to overthrow the Tokugawa Shogunate. Saito Takamori, a prominent figure among the Satsuma leaders in the Meiji government, initially backed the reforms. However, he grew increasingly troubled by the escalating political corruption. In protest, Saigo resigned from all his government roles and retreated to his birthplace. Many members of the samurai class, government, military, and police would join him. This eventually ended an all-out rebellion. The culmination of the war was the Battle of Shiroyama, which occurred on September the 24th in the year 1877. The clash served as the final battle of the Satsuma Rebellion, pitting the outnumbered samurai forces led by Saigo Takamori against the Imperial Japanese army. The conflict culminated in defeat for Saigo and his army, effectively bringing an end to the Satsuma Rebellion. The rebellion also effectively ended the samurai class, as the new Imperial Japanese army was built on conscripts, and they had proven themselves in battle. Saito Hajime would fight on behalf of the Imperial Army and would survive the battles during the Civil War. During his later life, he became an avid drinker and continued to work for the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department until the year 1890. Throughout his life, Saito Hajime confided some of his encounters with the Shinsengumi to a chosen circle, among them Yamakawa Kenjiro and Takemine Hideo, both natives of Eizu, whose residences he often visited. Over cups of sake, Saito Hajime would regale his tales from his past. Despite these intimate exchanges, he never wrote anything down or documented his involvement within the order. This further added elements to Hajime's mysterious character and past. After working for the police, he would get a job as a museum guard in the Tokyo Education Museum. He would retire in the year 1909, but Hajime's heavy drinking was believed to have contributed to his death from a stomach ulcer. He died in the year 1915 at the age of 72 while sitting in his living room. He has now been immortalized in several anime and manga series. Saito Hajime was one of the few core members who survived the numerous wars of the Bakumatsu period, who most famously served as the captain of the 3rd unit of the Shinsengumi, an order of swordsmen who would soon become legend in Japan. He lived through an era of extreme transformation and survived to tell the tale. Play War Thunder now for free on PC, PlayStation or Xbox. Use my link in the pinned comment or video description to sign up. You will receive a massive bonus pack that includes multiple premium vehicles and 7 days of a premium account, available for a limited time only.